gonna give a high five for a 5-minute
Okay.
warning.
Cool. My name's Alberto. I'm an addict. All right, let's do this, guys. All right. Only you can do what you can do. If you don't do it, the world will not have it. Okay, so a lot of things have happened in my life that I've wondered, why? Why me? Like, why does this happen? Why is this happening to me? What's the purpose of it? What's God's purpose of it? And the following is a couple of those events and the reason why. I was born in Pedro, this city, so it's appropriate that I feel like I got my second chance here. My parents were teens when they had me. They didn't really do much. My dad worked at the Gap. My mom was a home mom, stay-at-home mom. It was me, my brother, you know, and they were great parents. You know, I have lots of love for my parents. They're always there for me. They, you know, taught me right. I feel like they were my role models, which is, I feel like a lot of people think that people don't have that are addicts, or if you're an addict that you don't have that, but that's not the case for me. We lived in Wilmington, and a lot of my family, my dad's friends were gangbangers. So to escape that violence, they moved to the IE. And when we moved to the IE, I didn't know anybody. So just like most kids who don't have any friends, you want to fit in, you start smoking a little weed, you know, start doing things so you can fit in, and that's what I did. And it wasn't that bad for me at first, you know. And because I'm an artist, so I thought smoking weed made me more creative, so it felt like it was right. Right, but then I started slowly like falling behind in school, ditching class, yada, 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 right? I didn't do the best in my grades, but I knew I was a smart kid. My parents didn't have any money for college, so instead I joined the Army. So at 17, I enlisted in the Army, got stationed out to Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, which for an 18-year-old isn't a bad deal, you know? When I got there, I was immediately greeted by a lot of the older enlisted guys who took me under their wing. I was like the little brother, and they drank a lot. They were drinking like, holy shit. But, you know, that was part of the lifestyle. At least that's what I witnessed. It was part of the lifestyle, right? So we would drink from, you know, the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And it was an everyday thing because we were MOSs, combat jobs. So in garrison, you have nothing else to do. So that's what we did, we drank. About a year into my enlistment, I did a tour in Iraq, right? And that was definitely for someone, any youngster, that was a tough time. It wasn't always crazy, but when it was crazy, it was crazy. And I came back from that deployment a different person, right? Like, you know, most veterans do. I was part of one of the largest attacks that happened by the Al-Qaeda. They attacked 6 different bases at the same time. And that was the last day I was in Iraq, 6 hours before the Chinooks came in to take us out. So it was pretty devastating, right? I come back and it was very honeymoon phase, you know, I'm back, I got some money in my pocket, I'm in shape, you know, blah, blah, blah. And started partying. And then once I got back into garrison, the nightmares started happening. The PTSD symptoms that I was unaware of started happening, right? So as these were happening, I realized, this is why they drink. You know, this is what the purpose of it. And then my biggest thing at the time was coke. So cocaine, because I didn't want to sleep. If I slept, I had nightmares, so I'm gonna stay up. So cocaine was a great answer. And it was part of the lifestyle. So now it makes sense looking back at it, that these guys weren't drinking to drink, they were drinking to get through the time of garrison until the next deployment. Because when you go down a range, you don't gotta worry about that. It's combat time, it's action time. So that's how I started living the rest of my life after my first enlistment. I got out of the Army, back to San Bernardino with my parents. And I was still a madman. The Army teaches you how to turn things up, but not turn things down. So that's how I lived. And I couldn't get a job when I first got out. A lot of things required college degrees. And I was a radio operator, so I can have the training. I know the equipment, I worked the equipment. We set up one of the largest networks in Iraq, and yet no job would hire me because I didn't have a college degree. So I did what I knew best, which is I started doing in high school, which was sell drugs. And you know, and I was good at it. I was great at it. I had the combat experience, so I wasn't fearful. I wasn't fearful of getting caught. You know, someone pulls out a gun on me, no problem. Like, I'm gonna pull out the gun faster, and I'm gonna get you down before you get me. Like, that's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, so I lived very recklessly. I started getting money quick, And it was around this time that I met my now wife, right? And she was a UCLA student and a little firecracker, and she was with me the whole time we did everything, fucking coke, acid, ecstasy, anything that we could get our hands on, we did it. If you had a bag, I don't care, give me the bag, we'll try it. Let's find out what this little roller coaster is about. And I worked selling drugs and living that lifestyle, and it worked out, right, for a little bit. And then I started getting a little bit heavier in the weight, moving the weight. And my wife started getting a little bit more concerned about it. Like, hey, you know what, you need to do something with your life, because this can't be us forever. And it was about this time that I found my passion, which is tattooing. So I got an apprenticeship at a shop, A-Town in Garden Grove. And oh man, I love it. I love it. There's a connection in tattooing. I'm pretty sure many of you guys are tattooed. I can see the tattoos on your faces. I can see everyone's pretty blasted. So it's an immediate connection. It's an immediate connection with somebody. Your skin is getting contact. You're learning about somebody, and then they're trusting you. You're trusting a complete stranger with permanent on your skin, and it's my job to take that trust seriously. And I love that concept. One of my first experiences of how serious it is of tattooing, I was an apprentice, and this girl comes into the shop, and very quiet, very little reserved, gets a little words on her chest, and she gets a tattoo. Very, no problem, gets it done. We're smoking blunts in the back. She goes, hey, I need to go get some change or get some cash. So she leaves the shop, goes gets the cash. So it's taking a while. And I'm like telling the artist who did it, like, hey, you should check up on if old girl bounced or not. So he goes to the front and he comes back to the back with the cash and a Post-it note. And the Post-it note said, last night I was raped. Last night I was raped. I wanted to hurt myself, but I got a tattoo instead. And that's when I was like, this is deeper, right? So I'm doing this tattooing thing, and I'm loving it, I'm enjoying it, but I never stopped doing drugs, right? If anything, the tattooing excelled the drug use. It's part of the lifestyle, you want to smoke blunts with your tattoo artist. You want to do lines. Well, some of you want to do lines with your tattoo artist, and selling drugs, I didn't make as much money. So, and coke's expensive. So I switched over to meth, like I did every other, I did every other drug, and I'm still doing good things. And so how bad could meth be? And I found out pretty fast how bad that stuff gets. But because I was successful, or I had a career in tattooing, it didn't feel wrong, right? And then the pandemic came, all right? And so the pandemic, you could imagine, for a tattoo artist, wasn't a good time. And so I lost my job. Most shops weren't open. Most people didn't want to get tattooed because they didn't want to get under somebody. So what I did, like every other normal person, I became a real estate agent. I got my real estate license during the pandemic. I did manage to stay sober. Sorry, I skipped a part. I went to an outpatient for the VBRC, for the Veteran Village Recovery Center, right before COVID, right? Because I was realizing that my meth was getting out of use, so I did that to help me stay sober. So during the pandemic, I was able to stay sober and get my real estate license, which probably has a correlation. Sobriety and getting a real estate license, I think there's a connection there. So I got my license and started making money, started making good money. But that shit is stressful as hell. I mean, going from a tattoo artist where I could just work whenever I want, make some quick bucks, to doing the real estate thing, completely different lifestyle, right? And so the stress started getting to me. So I started doing meth again. Like every other normal person does, you get stressed and you always start doing meth. And when that happened, right, I'm making it, because I made money, it felt okay, right? But something happened along the way, and my wife got pregnant, and my son came shortly along. But I didn't stop the use, because like I said, I had the career, I had the money, blah, blah. So when my son was born, and being a real estate agent and making money, I was never home. I was never seeing him. I wasn't there. I was out working, and because I had to put money on the table, it felt okay, but it was causing a problem. So, and my addiction is also in the background working. So I decided to leave real estate, go back into tattooing. And when I was back into tattooing, I worked at a pretty prestigious shop, and me and the artist who owned the shop started traveling, and I was making good money. Started hitting every convention, traveled all across the country, did shows in Peru, I did shows in Italy, I was in New York a lot. This whole time, whenever I was home, I was in my addiction. When I traveled, I wasn't in my addiction because I felt like I didn't need to. There's some sort of, I guess, value that I thought it brought me that I couldn't get anywhere else, right? So coming home and not dealing with my addiction, I treated it the way I treated myself, my time in the Army, survive until the next show, survive until the next deployment, and that's what I was trying to do, but that just doesn't work for life. And what ended up happening is my wife found out that I was still smoking, and she was ready to leave me. She was ready to take my son, and that was a hard time for me. I love my son. Most of the guys at Fred Brown know who he is. He's our little mascot, and I want to be a father. I want to be somebody who's my son can look up to. And if he has to see his dad and he has to think, oh, well, when dad's stressed, he goes and he fucking runs and he uses, that's what he's gonna learn. So I decided to go inpatient. Fred Brown was recommended to me. It was great. It was told that it was the best rehab in the area, and I can't lie. It's been a great experience. There's some knuckleheads here, There's yeah, the guys in the house know I'm the chair, and you guys love giving me a good time. You guys love giving me a good time. I could go on this one for I could do the whole 30 minutes just talking smack about you guys. So one of the things that was happening when I was Fred Brown, Miss Nancy, this is gonna be the Nancy show again, came into the house at the quarantine house 276 and asked me if, hey, that when people say do it for yourself, does that sit well with you? And I said, no, it doesn't. I've been doing things for everybody else my whole life. Why would I do something for myself? She goes, okay, well, do it for your son, do it for your wife, and then just keep doing it that way. And eventually you'll find a way to do it for yourself. And that's what it did. That's what I did. I just kept going. And eventually the guy started seeing my son and my wife, and they kept, hey, bro, you got a good family. You got something good for you. And I started realizing, you know what, I do have something good. I do have a reason to live. I do have a reason to value my life. And I do have a reason to be successful. And I do have a reason to show people that this can be done. The reason that all these events happen in my life, that God put me through these trials and tribulations, is so I can show other guys that you can make it too. How much time do I have? Huh? Oh man, a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna end it with this, guys. If you guys have been to the other alumni meetings, there's that 1 minute alarm, that dan, dan, dan. When I first got back from deployment, I hated that alarm. All right, I hated that. You know what I'm talking about. I hated that alarm. If I heard that alarm, I wanted to find the phone, who has it, throw it out the window, get away, because that was the alarm that went off on the bases when we got attacked. Okay, so, but now that alarm means that my time may be coming up on when I'm speaking. It's a different, and it's a different feeling because I'm clean, I'm sober, I have some clarity. It's a good place to see something that was bad and something that's now a good sign. So I end it with, the thing you want most in life is going to be in the place you least want to look. Thank you.